You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Graceland After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Graceland After Show.
Yes, you know what that sound is. You know what it means? It means we're back for the AFTERBUZZ TV Graceland After Show here today. A day late because we couldn't make it work yesterday, but we're here bringing the episode as usual. Today is Season 2, Episode 6, The Unlucky One. Here at AFTERBUZZ TV, I'm your host, Stephen Lemieux, hosting it together again, of course, with my amazing co-host back after 2 weeks, Stephanie Giorgi.
Hey, y'all.
Great to have you back. So, of course, last week we did have Jamie Gray Hyder, and now this week we have Steffi back. So I always have to have a lovely lady with me, I think.
Right? How was it last week?
Oh, it was amazing. It was great to talk to her. I always like talking to cast members, and we're going to try to get a few more for you guys as soon as filming's completely wrapped. They'll probably be back in LA, and we'll be able to get them in studio for you guys. Tonight's episode was intense.
It was, and it was really sad. Poor Paige. I wish I was there for her.
Oh man, it had some scenes that we really don't get an emotional side of Jake's that's not anger.
Right.
Like, we usually just get the anger, and this was like a good...
And the alcohol and the bottles, and this time it was just honest and sincere. I was so proud of him.
So before we kind of dive into this episode, which we'll be going through in sections before they kind of meet up with that whole operation on getting Paige out of there, I do want to remind you guys, please go to iTunes and subscribe and leave us a comment on iTunes. We have about 26 ratings on iTunes, most of them 5 stars. But we haven't gotten a comment this season, aside from, I think, we've gotten 1 comment this season. So, guys, if you can, please just go to iTunes, and you know what? I'm going to give you a shout-out right now.
I was just going to say, y'all know Steven will give you a shout-out, because he looks.
We're going to do that right now after I find this thing. So, yeah, guys, just go to iTunes, search AFTERBUZZ Graceland, and, leave a little comment, and we'll read it out on the air. This one is from... Awesome by Age Patrice. I just got into the show. I watched all the first season in 2 days, and I'm loving season 2. So glad to find there's an AFTERBUZZ TV show for it. Thank you, Age Patrice. And if you want us to say your name and Steffi G to say it really fun-like, say it.
What is it?
Age Patrice.
H. Patrice.
Age
Patrice.
Whatever. Steffi G will say it a few times.
Age Patrice. You want me to hear the Spanish side of it?
There you go. We'll give you a shout out. So go ahead and do that for us, and also check us out on YouTube because, of course, we're on YouTube. All right.
Thank you.
So this episode. The way we left off last week's episode was Jake's being arrested while Paige was going undercover, swallowing balloons full of heroin, except for the one that popped, of course, that let the girl OD and die in the bathroom, shoving her body in the stall, and then Jake's being arrested and not being able to follow what Paige was actually doing.
The worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, it was not a good situation at all. So this one opens up with, of course, at the end of last episode, the operation with Mike and everyone at the bus depot. The bus depot blew up.
Right.
So this one opens up with Lawrence and Mike in this safe house. We don't know if it's like an FBI safe house, but we come to find out that it's a crime house that Mike has just spirited this guy away to.
Right. He did a nice little Briggs move there.
Pretty much. Very Briggs-ish.
Super Briggs-ish.
And
Briggism. Should we name it something every time they start doing dark things that they shouldn't be doing?
He's going Odin.
He's going Odin.
He's going Odin. It's kind of hard to say quickly. So he spirits this guy away to this house, and he's locking him up. And what you notice is he's being nice to the guy, which, you don't really realize how much of a detriment it's going to be later on, but he's being kind of nicer to the guy because this is kind of old Mike, is like his way of dealing with people. He hasn't been tainted by the fact of everyone's going to take advantage of your niceties in this business. And he handcuffs the guy to the chair and leaves for a bit because the guy says, yeah, I don't know anything about the girls. I don't know anything about anything.
His interrogation wasn't so successful.
But he does find out that there's a leak in Graceland. And he had a hunch before, and that's why he brought him here without telling anyone. But now he's confirmed when he says, I already know that there's a leak in the law enforcement. And the guy says, yeah, but you don't know who.
Right.
So you're like, suspicion's confirmed at this point. So the next time we see Mike is with Foster, and Mike is just totally down in the dumps because the op went bad. everything connected to Solano was this bus depot, which is now gone. And let me see here. I do want to say about, before we move on from Lawrence, he does kind of confirm everything that we said last week or 2 weeks ago, was that there was 2 buses.
Right.
There was one that the Solano cartel would take and fill with contraband, and then once it got into the depot, if there was any like hotness,
Something going on, they'd have the other one replace it. So that
yeah, if the police were like looking for it, they would just like replace it with the thing. And he says he doesn't know about the girls. He says that's Carlito's thing, and yeah, so that's kind of, it kind of confirms a lot of the suspicions they had. Mike tells Foster that the law enforcement tipped Solano off, and she does not believe it.
Right. I'm still trying to figure out if, I don't either, but I'm trying to figure out if she has anything to do with it also, just out of jealousy, and the fact that she wanted to take over the whole operation from the beginning, as if she was trying to hide something. I mean, I'm probably definitely going over the top, and she's probably just being a jealous woman, but I don't know.
You know, I wonder. I do wonder, but at the same time, I also think that it's more of just trying to create a contrast between how Graceland works and how DC works.
Right.
And I think she's not somebody who's connected with anything bad. I think she's just the DC mindset, and we're supposed to see that in her character.
Yeah, because she stays in the office.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the DC side of Mike is what she kind of portrays, and then the Graceland side of Mike is what he's fighting between to figure out. In this episode, he kind of chooses.
So it makes him burn inside.
Yeah, burn with a fiery passion for the Solano. He's going to take them down. Next thing we get Briggs talking to Mike on the beach, and he tells Briggs that he took Lawrence, and Briggs is like, "What?
Yeah.
Like, really?"
The things that Briggs knows about everybody.
But he trusts Briggs, and he tells him that he thinks he knows that the guy knows where he took the girls. So, of course, the next scene we get with Briggs and Mike,
All right.
what are they doing?
He's training Warren on how to interrogate and how to torture people.
Oh, man. It's like we saw it a bit in the first season with Mike just being uncomfortable with like all the torture kind of things going on.
And this time it was like a lot.
It wasn't that terrifying.
It wasn't, but he was still hurting someone, and he knew, like, after the fact that he had said, I was sober for 16 years, he already knows what that's doing to that man. So it was torture enough to...
Was it Mike in the first season that grabbed the guy's arm and put it in the molten lead to cauterize the worm?
No, he just saw it.
Okay, he saw it. Yeah, because that was, like, the first season, he was, like, seeing these things that are terrifying. But this season, him actually being the one
Bello
to
and Eddie,
do it. Yeah, Bello was... I can't wait. I hope Bello comes back.
Right, because he's chilling in jail right now.
He's just chilling.
Yeah.
He's getting some cool runnings, you know.
Nope, this is the first time that Agent Warren does it, which is really sad because you see it in his face, especially since he had to hold the guy down. So it's like you're feeling him.
So this was a really effed up scene. If you didn't see it, you should watch the episode before listening to this podcast, of course, because basically we know this whole storyline with Jakes and Lawrence, which I didn't think we knew Lawrence's name until today.
Right.
Or I guess yesterday, if you watched it yesterday.
Putting a towel over his head with, like, it looked like a handle of Gordon's
Well, just
vodka.
the whole storyline with him is that he was 16 years sober, no alcohol, even though he deals in trafficking drugs and girls.
Right, so I have no pity for him
I know,
anymore.
right?
I'm like, go ahead, do what you
But
gotta
they do make you feel kind of sorry for him because he's like, you can tell that, like,
because the only thing that we saw of him before was his sad story. Wow, wow, wow.
well, with his daughter and everything like that. Or his niece, yeah. So they pull out a towel, they pull out the vodka, and they're not going to make him drink it. They waterboard him with vodka, which honestly sounds like the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
Right. I think I would throw up while having
Have you ever experienced what like it feels like to be waterboarded a bit? Like just in a way?
Have you had that experience with vodka?
Not with vodka, but with water. With water, I know what it feels like. It is very uncomfortable.
That's so sad. Why was it happening?
Because I wanted to see what it felt like.
Okay.
I mean, I wanted to experience it, but like, it's literally a towel over your head. You're leaned back, and they pour water from an angle that lands on your nose.
Yeah, you can't breathe. Absolutely.
You can breathe. That's the thing. It gives you the feeling of drowning, and you're breathing fine, and you're at no risk of dying. You can't drown from it unless there's a hole in the towel or something, or the towel's not thick enough.
Right.
But it makes you feel like you're drowning.
Okay.
And doing that with vodka, I mean, having anything go up your nose would suck, but vodka, oh my God.
Well, because he's choking while it's happening. That's a lot to even take.
Yeah, it's, I mean, that would be a really uncomfortable position to be in.
I'll do it too after this show.
I mean, can we do it without the towel and you just pour it down my throat and then we just party? Okay.
Kidding, we don't do that, kids.
But this is especially messed up because of Briggs' history. Okay, with Jangles tying him up and dosing him with heroin, and then Briggs going back on the heroin last season. Like, Briggs knows what it's like to get off the horse like that. So it's kind of so messed up.
Well, because he knows he had to think it was a tactic. He had to think of something that wasn't going to like kill the guy, but be bad enough to be considered torture.
Well, it's interesting also that we see when Mike comes into Graceland at the beginning of the season, Briggs is back to like normal Briggs as opposed to being bad Briggs. And as Mike stays, Mike is becoming more Graceland, and Briggs is back to old Briggs a little bit more. Every time he works with Mike, Mike depends on him to do the dirty work.
Right.
And
honestly, I think at the end of the day, it triggers Briggs. It's something that he likes to do. It's his character. It's his persona.
Yeah.
He enjoys it. It's one of those things, like, that's the same reason why, and I don't mean to compare him to a serial killer, but you get a tick, and you want to do it again, and so it's like an adrenaline.
I mean, I've done some things that I'm like, no, I don't want to do that again. So I don't know if that's like...
I know, right? Never again.
I don't like accidentally hit a squirrel in the road and be like, oh, I got a tick. I want to do that again.
No, but for people who can... I mean, he does it a lot. That wasn't the first time. It wasn't the last time. He's been doing it for years.
So yeah, it is really interesting, though, to see how Briggs is trying to like teach Mike that, like, look, you brought me in here to get this out of him.
Right.
We're not going to take half measures.
And then... Paige is involved, so...
Yeah, so Mike will do anything. The guy says that he can make a call. He can make a call. They only take referrals. So he says he can call. They tell him to make the call. And then we cut over, before we get into whole Paige's side of it, we cut over to Sulla getting a call, and they say it's the boss man. And we're just like, damn. It's the boss man. It means he knows everything about the girls. If he's considered the boss man over at the girl orphanage.
I'm sorry, but what a corny name. Like the boss man. It was just funny. It was like kind of whack.
I think it was just like, look, it's the boss man.
Yeah, we just needed to know that it was the boss man.
Yeah. So. And
then it cuts back over. And Lawrence.
Well, they cut back over, and Briggs tells Mike to just own what he just did. It's like, look, you've just done it. You've done it. You got to own it. And he says, we're going to keep Lawrence until we get Paige back. We see later Mike is having bad memories. He's having like flashbacks to it. And then he decides while he's doing this, because he wants to feel even worse, browsing through the girls on the site, and then finds Paige's picture.
Paige's helpless little picture.
That was sad.
It was.
I mean, how would you feel if like somebody you loved was on like a sex trafficking site?
Of course. I completely understand.
Do you understand?
I don't know, Steven, do you?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think you can like really, you can't really put yourself in that position. It's terrifying. Mike goes back after everything's over with, and they get Paige, or he smashes his laptop. He really shows like his fury there. And then the last scene with Lawrence is Mike letting him go after they get Paige back. So let's go ahead and move into Paige right now. So meanwhile, Paige is in a building that has like angels on the side of it. Like it's got kind of old school architecture, but then it has like very modern architecture in some angles. Like every time they show the building, it's a little different. And she's on the table while they're trying to get this last balloon out, and they're saying that Carlito might have stiffed them a little bit on one balloon because they only found 9. We know that one burst in the girl and killed her. So. Yeah. They call Carlito. They don't get an answer because Carlito's probably being crazy somewhere else.
Right, because that's the only reason why she didn't get in trouble for that missing one.
Is because they think Carlito stiffed them.
Exactly.
Yeah. We walk her through this hospital-like place, and you see all these girls like through the windows and these cots and things like this. It was very taken.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say it was a little bit less taken, but because they were doped up, and that was yeah. So these are getting ready for it. They look like little rats.
Well, I feel like the interesting thing about this is that it's not exactly sex trafficking; it's people trafficking. It's basically mail order brides on the really illegal side, because they weren't doping them up and they weren't selling them.
That's how they were getting their citizenship.
Yeah, they were marrying rich white dudes.
And then the chicks have to stay with them, do what they do. They want the citizenship, and that's it.
Pretty much. So it didn't go as dark per se, but it's
as
still
it could
pretty. I mean, it's still terrifying.
Yeah,
it's just it was more of a marriage selling thing than it was a like sex thing, if that makes sense. So they line her up with all these girls. There's about 8 girls. Basically, they hold them in this room where they can eat cheesy poofs, drink orange juice, and watch TV.
Yeah.
And that's all they get to do all day.
One girl was drying.
Yeah, they were drying. And they could read, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like they're in handcuffs and stuff like that, but they can't leave, and they don't know where they are.
The state that they were in.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
She sees Lena there and sits down next to Lena, though, and that's...
where it all starts.
Lena's just like she's seen a ghost.
Paige was invested before, and then she was officially, like, super invested.
She's like, this is my girl.
That's my girl, Lena, I got you, boo. Oh, no.
All right, so we come back to Paige in her room, and they tell them to get in line. They pass out numbers to the girls, and they bring in this dude hooded and tell him to basically choose. And he's, like, looking over the girls, and he's like, we have lots of young girls. We have infants. It's like, what?
That's disgusting. Newborns, he said. Ugh.
That was messed up. And
Paige was very smart with that whole biting the inner cheek.
Whispers to Lena's like, bite your inner cheek until it bleeds. And then
would you have been able to do that? That's what I kept thinking the whole... Yeah, I guess so,
totally.
Right? Oh.
I mean, yeah, it would suck. Yeah. And you have to deal with it for the next few days. But like,
yes, it did.
I mean, in that situation, though, wouldn't you?
I know, with that response having to do with... Sorry, continue.
Anyway, so she coughs up blood appearing to the guy, and the guy looks him over one last time. It's just like, I'm passing today.
Can you believe that next time? That's
Can you
disgusting.
believe that they blindfold him and bring him in, and then they let him walk out unblindfolded?
I did see that, but the thing is that they were going to put the whole blindfold where he could see the building, he just couldn't see how to get there. So the blindfold would have been back on him before he went into the van. But yes, that was poor...
I don't know. Okay, that
blocking.
was... Yeah. So Sula's really freaking pissed off at Lena. He's like throwing her against a wall. He's really angry, and he's like, do you want me to stop being invested in you? Because once I'm stopped invested in you, he basically will kill her and then dump her body in a river, and nobody will know who she is because she's in America and nobody even knows where she is right now.
Right.
So Lena and Paige plan an escape after the dude leaves the room. She uses her like paper to block the
door from slamming.
Yeah, the door from shutting. And they're running away. We hear lights turning on, and I'm just like, oh man, it's just like Jesse in Breaking Bad.
I know.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I've never seen that, so I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
No.
He's trying to escape. He jumps on the fence, and then the lights turn on.
And gets caught super quick.
Caught, yeah.
With the quickness.
With the quickness. Yo.
I know. Good looking out, viewer.
And the dude just has like a pipe and just smacks your freaking leg with it.
I know.
That is painful. That was some, what's the ice skater's name? Trying to reference the Olympic person who was hit with a lead pipe way back when.
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank. So, right after this, we get a commercial break. And what do we see in the commercial break?
Jake's and Johnny, just being best buds, driving their Toyota.
I know. And it's like, we're like thinking like, wait, why are they together right now? What's going on?
Why are they so jolly?
They hate each other right now in the show. What's going on? It's like, yo man, we're going to catch it. Oh, the taco truck. They got the best guac here. Yeah, I'm glad I came here in my Toyota 4Runner.
Commercial, remember that. I'm kidding.
I was like, what? It was just very comical. Anyway, we get back to it. It goes from a commercial to like back to sex trafficking.
I know.
Or people trafficking. It's terrible. So finally we get everyone on the Paige case. This is where everything kind of happens, where Jakes gets his phone call.
Team Graceland unites.
Calls Charlie from jail, and he's like, hey, have any of you heard from Paige? And she's like, no. And he's like, why?
Right, which is so sad because this is where his tears derive from, because at that moment he was scared that she was gone. So as much as he's sad for her and what she went through, he still could have lost Paige.
Oh yeah.
And it would have been on him.
It would have been on Jakes?
Yeah.
I think it would have been on Paige.
Well, Jakes would have taken the blame.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
the last
definitely.
person, so yeah.
We get this weird split away where you see Paige's face like for a split second in like the flash.
I know, that
it was
weird.
it threw me off so much I had to rewind and like pretend that I wasn't insane for a second. So Charlie thinks that Paige is dead because Charlie and Briggs pull up to the place where the dead body was found. That of course was the one who OD'd, who was Anika, which Paige is now taking on the role of. Anika, yeah. And really good portrayal of how modern day Americans are.
Right, with the
dude who's just like, yeah, a girl died, and he has like a freaking picture of her bleeding out of her nose and stuff. Like,
I know. That's
sad. Messed up, and that's how our society is nowadays. Rubbernecking. If you see an accident, you can't help but watch. But like the whole smartphone thing, taking a picture, that's messed up.
It was.
Anyway,
Took a good picture though.
so they find his car, they find Dale's car, the truck, and they listen to the tape, and we hear the end where she's being taken, where she's yelling, "I'm going undercover as this," and they're just like,
man,
damn it.
Right? Just follow me.
Well, because you never know at this point. Like, they could have taken her several 100,000 miles away.
Right.
Well, not 100,000. Several hundred miles away at this point. Like, they don't know if it's in the vicinity. They don't know if they put her in a truck and then just go across the United States outside of their jurisdiction. They can't do anything. So it's kind of scary. Briggs and Johnny, we get the scene with them at the jail picking up Jake's. And freaking...
And he doesn't even say why, too.
Sorry, Mike and Johnny, not Briggs and Johnny.
Johnny goes, he I don't know how to say it, when he got caught for some restraining order. He said some restraining order. He didn't say because they don't know about it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even bring it up. I'm surprised.
Well, Jakes doesn't want anyone to know his business.
Obviously, yeah.
But like he's like, yeah, you get busted for some restraining order, blah 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 blah. And then Jake says something about like, yeah, well you were with, yeah, well who are you on orders from? Because I didn't authorize this. And Jake says, yeah, I was authorized by your girlfriend. Well, Paige couldn't authorize it. Like, no, your other girlfriend, the one from DC. And that just like so much hostility between Jakes and Mike. Mike is being total dick, as usual this season. What?
Watch your mouth.
I can call Mike a dick. They are writing Mike's character as a dick this season. And they mean to. It's intentional.
I know.
Because you need to have his discovery of...
He's just really mean this season.
He's a dick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
Okay, would you rather I say prick?
No, that's just as bad. Sorry, everybody. I'm just trying to be nice. Use better words. Okay, but continue.
He's a real bad guy.
Oh
all right.
He's a jerk.
Mike's planning. Everyone's like in the room planning on where to go and where to try to find Paige. And Mike is just being a negative Nancy. He's just like, yeah, well,
that's his boo thing.
They only had 9 bags, blah, blah, blah. They would have blown her cover already, and she's probably dead already. And we're like,
way to go, buddy.
Damn, dude. Like, seriously. Jeez.
I know.
Like, it was just awkward. You're like,
it always cracks me up when you reenact everything. He does. He reenacts everything. They do that. And then of course, he comes off as the DICK.
Totally. So everyone's at each other's throats. Everyone's just like, we can't take down the guys at the motel because we'll never find Paige. So Charlie at this point is suspicious, like, where the hell did you guys get this information? Because, like, you went away for an hour, came back, and you have all this intel.
And you smell like alcohol.
Like, what'd you do, just get drunk and have an epiphany?
Right.
Like, what's going on with this? But anyway, they make Mike a cover as, like, somebody who has had a few priors with sexual harassment or whatever. He's a rich white guy. And he's at this hotel, and Scylla's driving. They pick him up, hood him, and driving away to Girlville. So at this point, it's kind of like you don't really know what Mike's thinking at this point because he's just really pissed off, but you don't know how he's going to react. And it's kind of weird that they put Mike in that position of being the guy who has to go undercover to find Paige when earlier in the episode they're like, you can't do this, you're too hot.
Yeah.
So...
But he's the white guy. It has to... fall into a profile. So
I guess that's true.
He was his character in Gossip Girl. That's what he was playing. He was like a nice ritual Hampton boy. He did it too well, by the way.
So Jakes follows him back to the building. Paige is in line. Her leg's messed up. We thought Paige might not be there, and then they'd create more drama with like.
Oh, I know, because then what is
them
he supposed
thinking
to
it's
do?
the wrong building. Yeah. And he's in line. The leg's messed up. Mike and Paige make eye contact.
That was the last time she was happy with him.
Yeah. The very last time he sees her leg, and he is PO'd. He's super angry, and we get a...
Which I have to say is so attractive. I don't know what it is, because it's like the defensiveness that he has. It's hot. Aaron T. Baby boy, love you.
I mean, I feel like everyone should be that if they see someone like they know.
I know, but
like,
the way he did
up.
it was just like... Because he's holding it back,
He's like, I want to take this black dude next to me's hand and just shove it down his throat and kill him. Like, it's crazy. Because we don't know the bodyguard's name or anything like that. He's just a very intimidating looking dude. We get a commercial break and they come back, and the stories have finally connected. We finally have the whole thing with Lawrence and the whole thing with Paige connecting into one Solano thing where they're trying to bust this case wide open. he's kind of still cover. He's like, hey, where do they come from? And Sulla, which I don't know who plays him. I have seen the actor so many times, I still can't remember his name. But he always does a good job as playing like a bad guy that's so dislikable. He's like, oh, they come from storks or under cabbage leaves. And then Mike chooses Paige. He tells everyone to go else to the TV. Lena is freaking out. She's not having it. And then Paige, she doesn't know that it's Mike.
Right. And then Paige has her Oscar-winning like scene and freaking out there.
Oh my God!
Perfectly.
When they're in the room together, they throw them in the room together and they're talking, and Mike sees the camera immediately. Thank God it doesn't have audio.
Oh, I know.
It's like, Paige, really? Okay, but they don't have audio, and she's like, bye, Lena, take her out, and then you take me out when you shut this place down. Okay, I'm sorry, Paige. I know you're emotional right now, and I know that you think that that's the right move. What happens if he leaves 3 days later, you get bought, and then you're shipped off somewhere, and they never can get you back?
Exactly. Well, that's what was the scary part about it all, was just, what if they hadn't just gone to some building, and they really wouldn't have? What if it was some Taken type-ish, where they'd go to Europe, and then, she'd be gone? But
I guess counter my argument for that point is that Paige knows exactly how the U.S. is. She knows exactly where she would be and things like that. She knows how to take control of a situation.
Kind of, but she's been letting her emotions get the best of her recently.
But Lena is in a faraway place, knowing nothing, not even knowing the language. So
so she needs the help.
Yeah. So he's going to keep the place running. She's pissed off because
that's happening and the team's not there.
And he says, the team's not there. It's just me. Yeah. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You want me to buy Lena? And it's like, he says, okay. He agrees to it. And then he says to them, he's like, she won't listen to reason, but I like her. Take her.
I know.
And she is just not having it.
And it's so sad that she has to get socked in the face and he hears it. Like, that's how hard it was, and nothing. Poor Paige.
So
I have to say, Paige did well, though. This has been my favorite episode with her, as far as her acting, because she wasn't the vixen this time. She was just like, she was the victim and helpless. I loved it.
She wasn't too helpless, but she was definitely more helpless than usual.
She was not comfortable. She wasn't in no hoochie shirt, no hoochie dress. She was just doing her thing.
Do you agree with what Mike did or no?
What do you mean, taking her?
Taking her.
Yeah, because at least she still knows more. I mean, I guess she could have found out how to survive more than the other girls in there, but at the same time, she's so hot herself. What if she did something else again and then they killed her? She's lucky they didn't kill her after running right the first time.
Yeah.
You know? So she again, like I said, her emotions are getting the best of her. She's better out now. Let her regather herself, and then she can help on the project, and then she can get Lena out. Lena at least will be quiet and stay put now, and won't be doing anything stupid.
She'll just be very hysterical and crying.
Right.
So they're back at the motel, and after they leave, Mike's in the car just trying to justify what he did and saying, like, look, it's the only Titus Solano we have now. The depot burned, but you wouldn't know that because you were on your own little op. And then we don't, like, Solano's gone. Like, we don't know how the hell to get him. Johnny's the only connection to Carlito right now, which they don't even really know how strong that is right now. And we don't really know either because we haven't seen anything. We only saw a little bit of Johnny in the previews with Carlito. And he's just trying to justify it, and she's just not listening.
Well, you know what's also crazy? Both Mike and Jake's got teary-eyed with her. They got really emotional about it. I mean, not to say that they shouldn't have, but it just was surprising because this is the first time for both of them.
Well, you also notice, what is Mike's main focus for talking to Foster? Is he's fighting to keep this case open.
Yeah.
Now he's doing that with Paige. He's not, it wasn't an emotional return of, I'm so glad you're safe. I'm sorry I did that, but I have to do that. He, instead of taking the emotional route, he's taking the justification route of...
I mean, I guess he was just trying to explain it to her because he had to take her, and that was it. But he still feels bad about it because he knows what position she's in.
Okay, this is going to come off really sexist, and I don't mean it that way.
Go, Steven.
But, like, if you're with, like, your girlfriend or something, and she's really emotional...
You say what you have to say so she can not be emotional.
Well, I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying... Don't come at it from a logical standpoint.
Right.
Because logic does not apply when somebody is very emotional. And that applies to really applies to really pissed off guys too.
I'm sure, yeah.
So do not try to use logic in a very emotional place because you're basically just telling them they're wrong and they know it, and
so
They don't like that.
Naturally, you have to manipulate the situation and...
Yeah, like let it cool down for a bit before you kind of jump into the, hey, you were wrong, I'm going to tell you why you were wrong, and this is what we're going to do, and I need this. I need to let those girls be sold because I need to catch this, blah, 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 blah. Bad on you, Mike. Sorry, that was just not a very well-handled situation. Just saying.
Oh my gosh. Okay, continue.
I'm going to get so much hate in the comments for that, guys. I'm
you're
sorry.
not. Everyone loves you, don't worry.
Oh my God. And he says, you have my word.
Yeah.
What does she say?
Your word is ish.
Damn right it is. At Graceland, everyone's hugging her. Everyone's happy to see her. Everyone's really sad, though, too. And Mike just walks away.
It is. You know, also another thing that I want to say is the dynamic of the house this episode is
weird.
So weird, but good because they're kind of getting close again. They haven't had these family moments yet. And we saw that with Jake's. We saw it right when Paige walked in. Johnny was there to take, Briggs there, Charlie there, everybody there. And then Jake's with that entire scene.
Oh man, so let's talk about that scene with Jake's and
shout out to Brandon J. McLaren.
Where is it? Paige and
So
Jake's.
good.
So he's just like he's taking it all on him. Like he's like the fact that he got arrested, it's all on him. The fact that she didn't have somebody following her with a wire to get her out immediately instead of just letting whatever.
And also she is scarred with what she saw, traumatized because she had to live it for like a second. And if they don't get Lena back, that's it. Like who knows what would have happened to this girl?
Well, it's that, and it's just like it's a law enforcement officer fighting with the greater good. Like the greater good is keep this place open so we can take down the Solano cartel, so we can shut down all of these warehouses, all of the drug trade, everything, and save thousands of people who are probably being murdered every day by these people. So that's the greater good in this situation.
Right.
But the lesser good is shut this place down right away because she knows exactly who is in it because she's so close to it.
Right.
So that's where her emotions are also getting in the way.
I also feel bad for her because when Lena said, "Where are your people?" That's another thing because Mike in the beginning, his whole reasoning to do it. Remember when they were reading his first little letter is from when they were younger. What do they want to do? They want to help people. They want to go USA. I guess I don't know whatever. America, whichever way you want to look at it, and then. Subconsciously, she's going to remember Lena saying this, what's going on, and now Paige is in a position where she could do something, but she's helpless because she doesn't have enough information. So it's like twisted.
So Jake's he basically walks in and says there's some times where you've done something that you don't know on God's earth how to apologize, and there's really no way to apologize, but you just got to go in there and try to do it anyway. He has this ballerina music box that... of
his mother.
I love this on the audience side, and then looking at like the production side where they sent people to like a Goodwill and was
shop,
like pick something up that looks like it could be something. Right. But on the audience side, it's just like he didn't know his mother well. This is just something that she had in her drawer. I know
the wonders of backstories.
The girl was a dancer, and she's like, no, Lena was a dancer, and we're like, okay.
I know. No, that was really sad. But I'm happy Jake's felt it was nice to see that side of him because they really did make him so dark so far in this season. And we haven't even seen the upside of it except for that little moment where he got the apartment ready for his son. But
yeah,
I mean, unfortunately, this is just continuing, his burden, if you will.
Well, this is the first time we see Jake's feeling emotion for something outside of himself.
Right.
Because he has a tendency to go into self-destructive mode when it's anything to do with his own life.
But he knows he needs to be there for Paige.
Yeah, because he almost got her sold off into sex trafficking or human trafficking. So it's kind of like,
after getting out, she really was checked out. Like, you definitely need time to reflect on something like that and just... I
mean, it's terrifying to have your freedoms completely stripped away from you.
Right.
It's absolutely terrifying.
And the fact that she was violated the way that she was when she was there, even with just the picture.
I mean, she'll have some sort of PTSD from that.
Absolutely.
I mean, even people let's say you went home right now and your apartment was not even like everything was taken, but it was just the fact that it was broken into.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It makes you feel vulnerable. It makes you feel like you don't have control of your life.
Absolutely.
And it's just a terrifying experience all around because we're usually feeling so safe.
That's happened to me before with someone that I knew. And first I had to go somewhere where I was just like surrounded by people. I needed to be in a full house.
Yeah.
And like in a room that was like nowhere where I could be, you know, because it was scary.
Well, it's even like car accidents. You get in a car accident.
Exactly.
Because of somebody else, you don't feel safe putting your life in somebody else's
Same thing
hands.
happened to me. I didn't drive for 2 months after that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it happened to me last month. I was like,
Aw, Steven.
So yeah, it's a really emotional scene. At the same kind of time, we get, let's see here, Charlie and Briggs. Briggs confides in Charlie what they did, and he says he poured his demons right down his throat. And he says, I hurt him. So Briggs is even kind of conflicted with what he's doing. And Briggs is kind of reaching a boiling point, too, this season, because he's already lying about Juan Badillo, and now he's lying to Charlie about Kelly Badillo being better. And
yeah, I just feel bad about all of this, though, because, man, I mean, not necessarily, I'm not trying to justify his actions or anything like that, but it's one of those things where you kind of have to do what you don't know can hurt you. She says it herself. I can't forgive something that I don't know what you've done, or however she phrased it. But that sucks. And he's never gonna. I mean, unless he gets caught, why would you ever tell anyone that you killed someone and did all that? Unless it's like a priest and you're asking for forgiveness.
Breaking news: Steffi G will never tell anyone that she's killed somebody.
Never take it to the grave. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm kidding. I would definitely go to confession. Sure. I would definitely go.
Well, anyway, he ends the scene with asking, do you hate me? And she says, no, I can't forgive you for something I don't know.
Exactly.
And now she knows, so she forgives him. Mike and Foster, she asks him about DC. He says he's staying, and she's like, if you don't come back, you and me are. And Mike's like,
I know. With the quickness, he said, I know.
He's like, bitch.
Sorry, deuces.
It ain't worth it.
Bye, Jess. Get out of here, Foster. Go back to DC.
I know, right? And she's like, I thought everything you'd want would be that director's chair. And he's like...
And may I just say that she really, when she was saying all of this, definitely thought that he was going to be like, no, I'm following you, baby. Let's go. Let's go back to DC.
I guess she just wasn't as good at Paige.
I mean, no offense to the actress, but as far as character-wise goes, yeah, definitely not.
I mean, Paige got some ish, too, though. Okay, so Briggs and Mike are talking on the beach. Mike is really worried they didn't accomplish anything by this whole series of events. He's just like, he's done with it.
Almost, that is actually what happened. So that sucks.
So he gets a phone call and he finds out that Lawrence is dead at his own house. And when he goes there, he walks in and he's greeted by this LAPD officer named Sid Markham. And immediately you know Sid Markham's the mole. Like literally, like, I don't know how they did it. I don't know if it was good casting or the way the actor played it. Immediately you know, okay, this guy's the mole. Like, I wrote that down before they even, like, talked about it later in the episode. Oh, they meet the mole. Because the mole is the first person on the scene where Lawrence is dead. I don't think... You mentioned, or Stephanie, your friend, mentioned that perhaps Lawrence is not dead and it's not really him.
Right, because, mind you, he walks over, only sees that it's his house, his face is taken out, and he never sees any credentials. They don't see any dentals or blood work or anything like that. So he never got confirmation that that was him.
I think at this point it's safe to say that he's dead.
Okay.
I mean, just because I think they really didn't want to have to go into that, because I think they were focusing more on...
Unless they have to disguise it, because if he's boss man, why would he die?
I don't know if he was boss man in that degree.
Unless they did that to cover him so that he's good. Now he did his style of keeping him safe by setting this all up.
I don't know, maybe. We'll see. I don't think we're going to see Lawrence again, though, sadly. So
until he shows up at the end of next season.
Yeah, we see it's a cartel hit, and yeah. So then we get Mike talking to Briggs, talking about how, yeah, it was a cartel-style hit. Mike knows he's the mole. Mike's like, look, I did a full checkup on this guy. He's part of the, he's second in command at the GTF, the gang task force. And Briggs is like, look, like that's a big crew to mess with. Like, if you don't know, cops have each other's back, especially LAPD. They're so tightly knit. You go after one, you're basically going after all of them. So to go after one as a potential mole, that's a big deal. It's potentially a career-ending and life-ending deal. And Mike says, I'm going to burn them to the ground. So the GTF, the gang task force, they're really close to the cartel because basically they're the ones who always are investigating the cartels and things like that. So they're also the ones the cartel know about, as opposed to Graceland, which is an outside thing where everyone's kind of undercover agents. It's not so much on the cartel's radar than the actual hey, we're naming this section of the
Right.
police the gang task force.
Exactly.
And people can find out who is at the head of it.
Yes.
And who do we need to bribe to be close and
It's
be
not
in it.
undercover.
Exactly. So it's kind of obvious that Sid Markham is the mole. So in our scenes, we get Briggs undercover at the LAPD, Paige beating the crap out of that black guard from the place. I don't know his name. And
The
Briggs.
guard. Are you saying this in predictions, or what are you talking about?
No, I'm saying what the scenes were. Remember that she was beating the crap out of that dude who was like the guard with the sex trafficking place.
No. The one that she started punching?
Yeah.
No, did you just see it was the youngest girl, the one that the first time around when the guy came in, before Mike did, there was a little girl that he was looking at, and before he had picked her, that's when one homegirl started coughing and blood in her hand. It was that same girl that got chosen by another older man. Paige walks up and says, "Excuse me, miss, is this your father?" The little girl who was part of the people trafficking says, "No." She knocks his ass out because he bought her. So she couldn't hold back. She just needed to say it, like, as far as, like, your rights going.
I thought it was the black dude from the.
They're in
building.
a parking lot. They're outside of a car, and they're in a parking lot. And
I know, and I thought she sees him and then runs up and grabs.
No,
anyway, we'll find out
her.
next week.
Oh,
I'm
right. I know I'm right. I'm right.
I don't know. We'll find out next week.
Should we go into predictions then?
And we see Briggs admits to wearing a wire. Okay, yeah, let's go into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
You can go first, Steven.
All right, so Briggs is going undercover at the LAPD to earn the trust of Sid Markham. He is going on an op. He says that, I'll go do the undercover thing for you guys. So he walks into a convenience store that's probably, suspicious of doing something or other. He walks in, they ask if he's wearing a wire. What's going to happen in this scene, to my prediction, is that Briggs admits to wearing a wire and then pulls his gun and steals everything at gunpoint from the convenience store and the drug dealers, with the cop, who's probably going to be Sid Markham, as his backup.
Okay.
And he's basically going to play the role of he's a dirty cop. Mm-hmm. And that's how Sid's going to kind of include him in on his thing, as Briggs being the dirty cop.
How good he is, and he's like, I want you on my team.
Exactly, as the dirty cop. And it's like, we could use someone like you on the gang task force. And that's how he's going to get involved in it.
I was you going to say.
Paige's emotions are going to get the better of her, and it's going to put her in a very bad position. Mm-hmm. I think she might get shot within the next 2 episodes.
She might just get, like, the ish bit out of her.
I think Dale's going to be dealing with some more stuff next episode that has to do with his son, because his son's going to go back to his house.
Right.
And it's just going to be over and over again with Dale until it comes to a head. And I also think that, let's see here. What else do I think? Johnny. Yeah, that's right. Johnny.
They're looking for his guns, and they have him at gunpoint.
Looking for his guns?
Some guy with long hair came in. He's like, "Where are my guns?" I don't know. So this is like an entire different scene that's going to happen.
Oh, okay. So
something new is going to come into play.
No, it's not new. It's old, brought back. It's
okay. Yeah.
Remember those Spanish guns?
Yep.
The people who sold them to those, probably it was like not like a sale. Mm-hmm. Those guns were probably stolen, and they found the dude who sold them to Johnny.
Right.
And that dude sold out Johnny, and that's how Johnny is being pulled out for these guns.
It is.
And that's going to cause an internal struggle between the Solana cartel and those guys. I mean, we're already like predicted last week that we're going to see a lot of internal struggle between Carlito and his father, which we'll meet next week, I'm assuming, and Lucia as well.
Well, okay. I don't have a prediction for as far as what Briggs is doing, but I do have a prediction for what I was talking about with Paige, only because what they didn't mention, Jakes did end up following Mike. But I think that maybe they're not telling Paige so that she doesn't get caught up in it anymore, because she's already too involved. So again, like I said, her emotions will get into the way. I think that they have something figured out. That's why she comes in onto the op when they get caught up. And then that's when we see the little scene in the parking lot where she says, "Excuse me, are you the father of this girl? Or is this your father?" And she's like, "No," and then goes in.
Well, I think Jakes followed him to the place because they knew Jakes was going to follow him because they need to know where the place is.
Well, that's my point. But once they had taken Paige out, she didn't have the reassurance of things going to get better. So now they're going to create something else again for it to happen. I don't think another situation. Whatever. This is my
probably.
okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I was misunderstanding it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Sick. Well, that's
Guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been the after show for Graceland Season 2, Episode 6, The Unlucky One. One last question. Who do you think was the unlucky one?
Paige. Lena, because at the end of the day, she's the one who's still stuck.
Really?
Yeah.
You know,
she might die. Or maybe it was the girl that died.
I think Mike's the unlucky one. I think he's between a rock and a hard place. Everything's falling through the cracks for him, and he's reaching at edges that are just falling out of his hand.
No, the unlucky one who doesn't get picked.
Huh?
The one out of the girls, you're the unlucky one if you don't get picked.
Oh, you're right. That's the unlucky one.
That's the unlucky one.
Who's gonna be the lucky one? Who's gonna be? Good call, Steffi G. That's why we have you here.
Hashtag Steffi G, y'all.
All right.
And on that note,
guys, follow me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, StephenLemieux. Also, catch me on the Strain podcast, AfterBuzz TV's after show for that, as well as MasterChef. I definitely recommend you check out the Strain, though. It's a really great show. Be sure to go to iTunes, rate, and comment, subscribe. Again, we'll give you a shout out on the show if you do that. Where can we find you, Steffi G? You can find me on Twitter at Stephanie Giorgi, Giorgi, and on Instagram at SteffiG47. That's with the Y, as well as on Vine at SteffiG47. And next week, I'll be hosting for the Fosters. We'll have Hayden Beerley in from the show. He's one of the main characters. We're really excited for it. Tune in at 7 o'clock for that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we will see you next week on our rightful time, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. For Season 2, Episode 7 of Graceland. See you then. See ya.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.